But as I said, there's a lot of royal news this morning as well. And as always at this time, let's get up to date on some of it. Kinsey Schofield is a royal commentator. She's the founder of the To Die For Daily website and joins us now. Morning to you, Kinsey.
Good morning, Cristo. Where's my theme song? I feel like I should have a theme song when I'm on with you on Sundays.
Oh, I wonder what it should be. Maybe, I'll tell you what it should be. It should be Queen.
I love it. I love it.
Of course it should be Queen. Okay, so many royal stories this morning. And they're not all Harry and Meghan related, though there is an interesting one in The Sun. I don't know if you saw this, but apparently drunk Harry set off the palace panic alarm. Now, this is some of the stories that have come out in Spare, which is still being dissected by people, are actually quite shocking about some of the behaviour that he used to carry out before he had his revelation and realised his unconscious bias and everything else that was wrong with his world.
Before he decided he was woke.
Yeah, and before he decided that he can make mistakes and move on, but anyone else does is a terrible racist and absolutely awful. Apparently, this comes after, of course, he admitted to attacking his bodyguards and trying to fight them when he was drunk. This story now is apparently Prince Harry accidentally triggered a panic alarm at St James's Palace after falling down drunk inside a sentry box.
That's our favourite Prince Harry. Like, that's our favourite Prince Harry.
That was the Prince Harry we grew to love. The Duke of Sussex stumbled into the booth after a night out, banging into the emergency response button. 3 armed soldiers from the Guards Division dashed out to find Harry slumped on the floor. 2 armed police also went to the scene and helped carry the young prince to his apartment. I mean, we've all been there, let's be honest.
Totally.
We've all been carried.
Remember when you'd wake up and you'd wonder where the bruises came from?
Yeah, I've absolutely had that, without a shadow of a doubt.
And you're like, I've got to eat more bananas.
But, I mean, are we being... The problem is, I didn't mind this Harry, right? As we've said, we liked this Harry. But now I wonder whether we should be more angry with him about things like this, because maybe we need to show him the lack of compassion that he's shown other people who make mistakes.
Well, here, I mean, you said it earlier in the show. There are key moments, there are key stories and details that Harry conveniently left out of this book. That is, you know, that Harry and both Meghan insist, they've recently insisted that these projects, this Netflix reality show and this book, they say that they're historical documents. They want to set the record straight. But then Harry and Meghan leave out key details, key stories. And this is a great example of that. And I do think that the more Harry and Meghan pursue fame and the more that they pursue, becoming these characters, these influential characters here in the United States, people are going to hold both of them accountable. And you're going to hear more stories like this because they're trying to take them down a peg. Like, you're not better than us. You're not smarter than us. You don't have a better, bigger moral compass than we do, because we've got receipts.
And it is a dangerous game to get into, isn't it, when you're doing he said, she said, putting out statements all the time. I mean, it's why the palace doesn't tend to do it, or the palace uses sources. Now, a lot of people complain about sources being used, but I sort of get the point of them, because firstly, everyone looks at it and thinks, well, I'll take it with a pinch of salt, or perhaps, you know, that's sort of the truth, but not 100% sure. But secondly, and more importantly, once you start putting out official statements denying things or confirming things, then you have to do it for everything, because if you don't, then people presume that something is true. If you get into a game of constantly issuing denials, when you don't issue that denial, then there is an assumption that that story is true. And that was why Finding Freedom, I think, was a mistake on their part, because they would wanted to control the narrative so much. But then when it came to certain revelations in that book, they stayed silent. So you had to presume that they were true. And
well, I will say at least they let us know that Harry fell in love with Meghan as she urinated in the woods, because that really was one of the most romantic things I've ever read in a book.
I don't want to think about that, really, but yes, she did, and she didn't take any. Remember, she didn't take any products with her to Botswana either.
Oh, but remember, she does like to keep tea tree oil. in case of emergency. She always had that tea tree oil available.
I hope it was under 100 millilitres.
And the description of her yoga poses. I mean, how are we supposed to read that and not think that Meghan was directly associated with it? Meghan falling in love with Harry in the downward dog position. I mean, these are just like details that could only come from one human being and one human being alone.
But we say all this. Where is she? Where is Meghan? I mean, do you have her there?
Can I just, yeah, she's here. She's down the street in Montecito. Can I just say, I did an interview with Fox News last week about this, where I said, I don't think she's embarrassed of the book. I think her sticky little fingers are all over the book. And of course, Fox News cut out all of my stuff about how I didn't think she was in hiding. And it was yesterday, Saturday, the Daily Mail posted a story that said Meghan is not in hiding. This is a PR strategy. Meghan is allowing Harry to brand himself separately from her. She's got something else in the works, but this is an intentional PR strategy for Harry to elevate himself, become his own character. And Meghan is preparing for more projects herself, but she's not embarrassed of Harry. She, of course, was in it 100%. I mean, Cristo, you can read Harry's book. Who had the text messages from Catherine? They were sent to Meghan's phone. Meghan has clearly influenced Harry's book. I mean, I don't know who inspired her singing to Seal's story, but you know, Meghan is clearly influenced Harry's book.
Completely. You're quite right. There is a story where they sang to Seals, which is when their love kind of blossomed. But of course, that comes.
I mean, I thought that was when she peed in Botswana. But yeah, I mean, how often did these two fall in love? My God, chill out, guys.
They did fall in love a lot. They did fall in love a lot. But again, if that is their PR strategy, that okay, she's going to stay silent and not get involved because. She wants to allow Harry to have his moment and they don't want to taint each other. Presumably, she's going to feel the same way when she does her interview rounds for her upcoming memoir, which I'm sure will have more interesting revelations, including of when they talked to the moon. Oh, it's just Harry that talked to the moon, hang on. But then, so they actually believe that they're tainting each other's brand? Or is it about not wanting to take the shine off each other? What is going on?
Well, I think that with Harry, it's almost like a challenge. First of all, this is his story to tell, was what the Daily Mail said. This is his story to tell. Also, because the book is so toxic, I mean, I would use the word toxic, but because it ruffled some feathers, it is believed that the publisher advised Meghan to sit back, to sit this one out, so it wouldn't look like she... like she was the puppeteer, the puppet master, I guess.
So it is quite a wise, I mean, credit where it's due, it's quite a wise PR strategy because immediately she sat next to him, you know, holding his hand, squeezing it with the whites of her fingers, just like Kate did on the chair. Remember when she was annoyed with Meghan and Harry? If she's doing that, then it is going to look like she is controlling Harry, whereas if he does it on his own, he looks like he's in his big boy pants now.
Yeah, and I mean, it did feel that way, especially with his body language. He was so irritated during some of those interviews. Some of his answers felt anger-driven, and anger-driven felt, I mean, that felt sincere. I mean, even though we didn't like the place it was coming from, it did make the answers feel a little bit more sincere because he was angry in some of the responses to those questions. So yeah, I don't think that Meghan is in hiding. I think she's prepping for something else. I think that she loves stirring the pot, and that's exactly what all this has done. And but at the same time, I do see and agree kind of with the argument that some people are saying she's allowing him to dig his own grave in case she ever needs an out plan or any sort of crazy thing to use in a court of law. If she does decide to leave him, here's 400 pages of crazy.
I mean, some of it is completely unhinged. And what, as I've said before, what I've never really got about it was that the level of lack of self-awareness I don't think he mentions the word privilege until about 200 pages in, possibly even more, but also who wouldn't love to pop to Botswana every time things get stressful? I mean, every time he was stressed about something, I'm popping over to Botswana to sit with elephants. I'd love to do that. Oh my God, I'd love to do that. How amazing would that be? But I've got a life and a job.